Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. This is the end of the day, so everybody who's here, I think all of them actually need a big round of applause. It shows that the audience here are actually steadfast in the business. So without much ado, we have a very interesting panel. Uh, the five professionals here, between themselves, they represent over 100 years, over a century of experience in our business, and they lead independent P&Ls of independent properties and also of brands. So, before the session today, actually, all of us met and said, let's focus on some key themes which would be of interest to everybody. So, first we wanted to understand what is it that different brands and hotels are doing. What are the great sales and revenue management practices that they have put in using technology? What is it that they have in store for the next 1 or 2 years? And in the new ecosystem of internet sales and online, where there is Google, Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, how is this shaping up? And our business, as we all know, is very interesting today. On the room side, about 60% of our top line are coming from B2B, and of the rest, about 2/3 is from intermediary channels, and the balance is proprietary channels. And F&B could be as big as 50% of the total top line contribution for hotels. So let me start off straight with Kanika, who's leading the Taj, and understand and actually ask you that when you view your property, and even in your prior experience where you've done rooms, F&B, MICE, what have been great practices that you have been able to put in place for driving revenue and top lines?
I think the biggest one which you learn to drive when you're looking at driving revenue is forecasting. It's about knowing where your business is coming from, knowing your segmentation, understanding what really drives at what time of the year, what are the trends you have for your particular hotel. So today while we are talking technology in today's entire session. There are a lot of tools to help you do that. But I would say forecasting and accurate forecasting, which experience plus technology is what gets there, is the true basis which helps you drive a great P&L. You can actually manage your costs based on your top lines. You can actually plan your tomorrows based on those top lines. Whether it's procurement, whether it is people, it is all driven on that revenue understanding. So when we're talking forecasting, we're not only talking about rooms, we are today talking about food and beverage, which is the tougher aspect of forecasting. How do you know your restaurant's going to be full or not going to be full that evening? So that, unfortunately, we still don't have the technology yet for it. But that's where that experience on that connect with your restaurant manager has with the guest really talks. And that's where that people aspect becomes far superior to technology on the food and beverage front.
Great, thank you. So Anirban, Kanika touched on a very relevant point. She said forecasting is critical not only for rooms but also for F&B. And what I picked up was she said that it is also critical for forecasting your costs and controlling your costs.
Right.
So how do you see this? And what are the best practices that you are driving for both rooms and F&B?
Well, rooms, generally, I think most of us are on the same page. We either take the help of the larger platform or the support that any companies provide us with. And of course, the hotel drives its own thing. But when it comes to F&B, for example, I mean, we often tend to ignore the fact that F&B revenue management is equally important, and it can also substantially contribute to the business outcome. First thing is capacity utilization. If you look at the space, the resources and everything that has been allocated to F&B, what is the kind of return that we are making out of that space is what we need to look at. And we traditionally have not used much of tools, but today with all the aggregators, the listing sites, the reservations, online reservation systems that are coming into play, we have a lot of data that is getting generated. For example, I give you an example. In Sector 29, where I operate out of, there it was quite enlightening to know that Swiggy has a data of delivery. Say for example, between 12 o'clock in the midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, they deliver about 4,000 meals just out of Sector 29 market. So 4,000 meals getting delivered, and not a single serious player is actually grabbing that. Right? So, so these kind of data are always, because we are now a connected society, connected business, we have a lot of data which is getting generated everywhere. We just need to start tapping them. And I think everybody in their own way have started realizing that and started tapping them.
Prashant, congratulations. Lemon Tree's had a fantastic listing. So, from driving pre-opening operations, you've also led various properties for Lemon Tree across the country. You led sales, and today you lead the integrated revenue effort.
That's right.
So in this, can you share with us what is it in technology, one or two things that Lemon Tree has done that you found it quite helpful? And you have come on in from a property background. You used to be with the Oberoi, so you've seen best inside implementation, how it's happening. And now you are driving revenue chain-wide. So what is it that Lemon Tree has done in technology? Which has, what are the tools available, which has made life much more meaningful from a revenue and sales perspective?
So just to add to it, what we did, we were early adopters of technology. I think so we went on a cloud way back in 2008 when people were talking of cloud. So it dramatically helped us in operations because we had the entire guest profile available at each and every property level. When people were, I mean, till today people ask us that how come you were early adopters of the cloud, but we realized the value of technology that's going to be there at that point in time. Today we have a very, very robust data of our guest database, which we obviously use to our advantage, to our loyalty program. That was the operations side to it. When I speak of sales, way back in 2010, we developed a sales app, which was, at that point in time, everybody thought that apps were coming in. Our sales are very different. We don't work like an individual unit sales. Our sales team sell all our hotels. So that's why we had to equip them with data, with technology. So we developed the sales app. We got a BI tool in, a business intelligence tool. So today, if I look at it, I think so we are completely driven on technology. We don't prefer manual interventions at all anywhere, because the richer the data, the more accuracy you can get from that. Like Kanika very rightly touched upon forecasting, Anirban rightly said on the F&B data. So data is the key for you, like he discovered with Swiggy. Similarly, there's so much of insights which are available within your own hotel, within your own chains, which you can really leverage it towards enhancing the revenues. So saying that, obviously we are looking at some more technology pieces, but yeah, that largely helped us a lot in early adoption of technology.
So interesting. So what I gather is that Lemon Tree took an early bet, actually put in lots of capex early on in technology. It's interesting to note you said 10 years ago, cloud was adopted. And I gather an interesting sales approach, which is what you say that everybody is actually selling outbound, which is very interesting.
That's right.
In the setup that you lead today. So Sanjay, when you look at your role, and you traversed different brands, and you are at a very interesting location today. If I look at geographically, it's interesting with opportunity and lots of challenges. And I'm sure your ownership would be looking at driving best returns on every square foot of real estate.
Absolutely.
So how are you driving that? What best practices have you put in? And how have you used technology to be able to drive that?
Very good question, Rahul. So of course, the hotel is about 6 years old now. It's changed 2 brands, and now we are part of the Marriott big family. There's a lot which has been done, and there's lots to do begin with. But technology definitely every platform of technology becomes very, very important in driving every sphere of business, be it rooms, be it the other operating departments, be it food and beverage, be it transport, be it anything for that matter. Couple of very significant things which we as Marriott hotels do. So I'll just try to take you a little back in time where, of course, every hotel learned this entire game of technology very early, and so was even the Starwood and now the Marriott Hotel. So we have a very, very robust system of defining rates, defining occupancies, defining trends, defining opportunities for a room, which is called the one yield. And now we have the other version of one yield, which is called the one yield version 2. Really robust, really dynamic, really very on time system, which helps us forecast, which helps us drive the rate, which helps us, because it takes feeds from everywhere. And real time talks to our GDS, real time talks to OTAs, real time talks to mybrand.com. And that really, really helps us driving a rate, driving occupancies, and forecasting what Kanika rightly said, numbers and day ahead of its time. So that really helps us know what the occupancy levels will be and what cost to operate with, how much to even cook and how much to order. So that's from the rooms part, and that's been doing really very, very well. From the food and beverage perspective, of course, there's a lot these days. The new age food and beverage is a lot to do with all these restaurant portals like a Easy Diner or a Zomato and things like that. So I think one needs to be really, really there in order to drive your food and beverage. Other important 50%, so that's right, like about 50% of the entire food and beverage gamut. The other 50% is selling spaces like the banqueting spaces, which we are at. We really count and we really measure it as how much square feet does your, how much revenue comes from every square feet of space, and how do you actually price it? Whether you're pricing it for a corporate segment, or you're pricing it with a social segment, or you're pricing it for a birthday parties, or maybe, so that helps us drive food and beverage revenue quite a lot, and 50% of the entire revenue is banqueting. So essentially, technology, as much as you use it, I feel it's more advantage. It gives you more leeway. It's really very interesting. It's very learning. We all keep learning every day with these new platforms and these new opportunities coming up. So, of course, as I said, lots done, but still, days have not come to an evening where I can say we can relax and we can rely on things. Lots to be done still.
Thank you, Sanjay. So, Dhananjay, listening to Sanjay is interesting because he has the benefit of a huge group's process templates, especially when it comes to distribution. And then he is trying to locally drive lots of banqueting. Now, the property that you lead, the Surya, you are in a very unique position, and lots of the fortunes of that property are actually dependent on the general manager straight away. I've seen how the fortunes of that property have changed with the general manager. So, and that property also has a very loyal customer base. So, your advantage is you have a loyal customer base, but what are you doing to increase your top line, not consistent with inflation, but to go beyond inflation? So, what are the weapons in your armory that you deploy on a daily basis to drive your top line and your revenue?
Very apt question, and most of you are from a brand. I mean, the Surya Hotel itself is a brand, as you rightly mentioned. What we keep in mind, this smart conclave. So we are being very specific in setting up a target on daily basis to our team members who is interacting during the breakfast with the guest. We look at every touch point where the technology can help. So earlier we used to have a guest comment card, which was manual. Now we are digital. So we have about 16,000 live database, which is active based on our in-house as well as the walk-in guests who are coming on daily basis. Technology-wise, If you look at rooms, everybody is focused, but the food and beverage, which is almost about 50% of your top line, and our positioning statement for our hotel is, of course, banqueting. Because of the banqueting, a lot of, the in-house guest conferences happens, and also the wedding takes place. The outlets are pretty well known, like Sampan is the Pan-Asian restaurant. So most of the food and beverage outlets is the positioning statement for a hotel. So what we have focused, especially in food and beverage, is digitalization. Another 2 years from now, you will see that everything will be digital in our hotel, including the menu, in-room experience. We have started working on the TMS, which is table management system, wherein you will capture immediate data of a guest and the likes and dislikes. So you personalize their services. The automation, birthday, anniversary, the messages will be sent to them. So there's a recall value. So as you rightly mentioned, that we more focus on the retaining of the customers who is being very loyal to us. And of course, our chefs are being very innovative. They're very personalized in doing the things. But yes, we at Surya also, we as I rightly mentioned, in one of the forum recently, that we believe in technology, because we recently got robo machine which is actually cleaning our pool, swimming pool. It's a technology. 40% of the water not being wasted. 3 of the manpower can be utilized in some other department. We were also looking at a possibility of using robo to clean the banquet area at least, because rooms becomes very difficult because the space constraint. But banqueting, the next step will be, as far as technology is concerned, to use the robo to clean the banquet space, which is about 6,000 square feet.
Great. Thank you, Dhananjay. So what I'm learning from him is that actually sometimes not having a very strong brand affiliation can help you with agility. I'm hearing lots of initiatives that he is driving, and they are blessed in that sense that there is a huge loyal customer database, which has been with the property for over a decade. An interesting positioning pitch is to say, how does F&B help set positioning of a property? And good to hear you deploy a table management system effectively, right, and your 2-year aspiration to say no paper in the hotel. So all guest interactions are going to be digitalized. Brilliant. I'm going to mark these words and then, touch base on that.
After 2 years.
Yes, within 2 years. Now, Prashant, I need to ask you this. And actually, I'm going to ask this of everybody, okay? But I'll ask you in 2 parts. So, the tide for our business seems to be turning, unless there is some very odd event. New supply is petering down to 8-9%. Demand, which was at 12, is growing at 16%. So, I think the next 4 to 5 years, we are all riding an upcycle. My only dismay is that our rates haven't been going up so fast. And when we see last year also, rates increased in single digits. Some brands did high single digits, some did low single digits. But Lemon Tree was very interesting. You managed to drive a 14% rate increase. So 2 questions. First, how did you do it? And second is, what is it that you're planning to do this year?
Okay, how we did it is very interesting. I think so. It's taking rates up, and obviously everybody is scared. Sales teams are always, they have their own views about it. You have to plan it very well 6 months prior. So we started planning 6 months prior that which are the top customers that we have and what is that we get from him. So I would say that yes, there was a natural rate increase that we got, but also we changed a lot of segment mix we changed. Because what happens is, and I can just say it, salespeople love their accounts. They'll always go back to them and they'll just keep saying that, no, this is mine, I can't do it. But somewhere down the line, I think so we have to take cognizance of the fact that you can not grow occupancy beyond a certain point. It has to be the ADR route that needs to be taken. Lemon Tree as a company, we were at 75% occupancy as a chain level. So we realized we are peaking in occupancy. How do you take the revenues up? So we took a very firm stand and calculated. We prepared for 6 months so that our occupancies don't get hampered. And that's how we were able to churn the segment out and take these ADRs up. Next year, the coming year which is there, obviously the hopes are high. Let's say where we reach, I won't quote a number over here. But the base effect is, the base is already set now, I think, so it's just the upside from here. And I think so it's with every hotelier, which is every general manager, every sales head. Everybody just wants to take the rates up. I think so there are some forces which are pulling us back. Take that leap of faith and do it. Nothing will happen, trust me. We did it, and we are stabilized, touch wood. But take that leap of faith, trust me. It will help you.
So what I hear you say is that you did some hard parenting with your own sales team.
Led by data, led by technology. Because see, this is what the beauty of technology is. You're not dependent on individual views. You see the data cuts, and that's when you start planning. Otherwise, it's hard. Sales teams and everybody, general managers, it's tough to convince them. But I guess everybody has now tasted blood, so I'm sure they're going to be on a much more stronger foot this year.
Okay, so you used data for hard parenting, and then you used a market segment shift strategy.
That's
to
absolutely.
drive that.
That's right.
Which is very interesting for everybody. So similarly, Sanjay, what is it that you are planning for this year?
So I think I resonate my thought with Prashant. It's very, very important to drive rates because in the hotel also 2017 showed a healthy occupancy levels. This year we really drove rates because it's readily available with the help of technology. You know how the market is behaving. You know how the economy is faring out. You come to know about how the travel patterns are.
So tell me, what percentage increase will you drive this year?
So I think at least a 7% rate increase would be a very, very healthy. 7 to 8% would definitely be driven through rate this year. You see, we are in the process of making budgets, so that's actually a tall order which is coming up now because rates.
See, for budgets you can put 7 to 8, but what your aspiration is that you can state.
So aspiration is definitely driving something like more than 10%.
Great.
Market is good. The Gurgaon market is good. The Gurgaon market is behaving well. There is a lot of influx. We can see every hotel is picking up in excess of 75% occupancy. And not that anyone now today wants to fill up the hotel absolutely to the brim and do every day 100%. So driving rate really becomes
So 10% is what we'll hold you to, okay?
You can.
Great. Anirban, the market around you is now actually saturated with supply. There is not much more happening. Plus, you should now also have the advantage of a rebranding, pushing your rates up.
Right.
So with that, what's your plan and what percentage will you drive up?
Well, I've been with this property for quite a long time. This is my 5th year. So when I joined this property, our RGI was 97. And today, last year we closed at 121. This year we are targeting 125.
Okay.
So every year we have been growing our rates. More so with, grown our RevPAR with occupancy so far. Last 3 years we have been averaging 90%. But now I see, there is a buoyancy in the market to push up the rate. This year, our ADR has gone up by, so far, YTD has gone up by about close to 6%. And for the last 2 months, for example, our occupancy has been 96%. So obviously, if the upper upscale hotels start pushing their rates, I see the opportunity more. But if they are not pushing their rates much, for a mid-scale hotel, it's difficult to push beyond a point. So I think we are in a situation where we can push up the rates, provided the...
So what percentage will you drive up?
See, we have already, achieved 6% plus. We are, considering the 3 months that are left, which are supposedly the better months. So I think we'll close at about 7.5% growth. And another thing that is often ignored, which has helped us grow our revenue, RevPAR, and RGI both, is the loyalty part of it. We generally tend to see more of our loyal members tend to sleep on others' bed than that of ours. That's been the general trend. But what we have focused on in the last few years is retaining them. And we have actually created few metrics. For example, we have this 10-nighters, number of 10-nighters, how many 10-nighters we have every year. So every year we are targeting to grow that, and we have been able to grow that over a period of time. Loyalty, we often say that there are no loyal guests, but I mean, out of many of the loyal guests that are there is a loyal guest who used to have his office in Cyber City. His office has been moved to Gwalpahari. So it's about 11 kilometers away from my hotel. He still continues to spend about 50 room nights in a year in our hotel. So I think loyalty is an often ignored thing in the whole scheme of things. But I think loyalty can also drive rate and RGI quite a bit.
Great. So you're using a loyalty strategy to drive rates.
Yeah, of course.
And Dhananjay, I will not ask you on rates because I think in your property, the opportunity is the total top line. Okay. So what's the total top line percentage growth that you're targeting?
In fact, what I have done is done the market segment correction as well in our hotel. I joined about 2.5 years ago. The occupancy was decent. So, we have taken the RevPAR route only during the weekend. And rest is, the ARR route during the weekdays. So that has given me already 18% growth over last year in terms of only ADR. So the revenue, of course, goes up, as you all know that if your ARR is better, your bottom line will be much better. So I'm looking at at least about 8 to 10% growth on the bottom line, pure bottom line after tax and depreciation, because we have a committee which takes care of wastage on daily basis, and that is the advantage of our digital. The app what we have, the WhatsApp, immediately after the breakfast operation, I get to know that how much is the wastage in the garbage, came out of plate separate and came out of buffet separate. So our objective is to ensure that, educate guests as well, not to waste food, so that has given me, the only food cost saving by about 8%. So that, just by controlling wastage. I have told chef that bring in your kitchen because we have the advantage of show kitchen. So about 80% of the food is done in front of the guest. So what you cook, and it has to be consumed then and there. So that is the advantage we have. So I think that has helped us also educate our team member in the Annapurna, which is our staff canteen. There is no wastage, believe you me. We don't have garbage in our Annapurna, in our staff cafeteria. We have removed it. It used to be there, we have removed it. We said, if you want to throw, please go in the garbage room and throw your leftover food. So that is definitely given us the bottom line as far as our saving is concerned in terms of food and beverage cost. As you said, top line, of course, about 20% better than last year, we should be able to do. Brilliant. 18 already we are doing in terms of occupancy and the ADR.
This is great. Right. So I wish you the very best. 20% growth in top line and nice approach to driving profitability, which is education. Daily monitoring and education. So thank you. I'm picking up stuff from you. Kanika, similarly, I feel in your property, whether it be rooms, MICE, F&B, it's quite blue sky. It's still a relatively new asset, lots of opportunity. So what are you going to be doing for driving your overall top line this year? And what targets are you setting for yourself?
So we have a very lofty 22% top line growth target. Like you said, it's not a very old hotel. It's only about 3 years old. We're in fact in our 4th year. The advantage we have is Delhi is doing brilliantly on occupancy. We heard it, 75% is market average almost over summers. So unlike most of these gentlemen here, we work financially, the Indian financial year, April onwards. So if I'm talking 20, I'm still at halfway mark. So when I'm talking 22% growth, we have actually seen in summers a 28% growth. Because that is where opportunity remained on occupancy. So, and an ADR, 12% ADR growth is what we've seen. So now is when the true ADR growth should come in. And segmentation, evolving the market strategy, we actually changed our comp set, which was a huge change in our strategy. When you, I think having the right comp set really challenges the sales team, challenges the hotel team to drive the right kind of business into the hotel. It's very easy for us to pitch low, but it's very important to have the right comp set which challenges you to drive more every day. So hopefully it will be a winning year.
Brilliant. So a very good perspective of the market. That who are you focusing on in the market? So Kanika, by changing the comp set, is changing how her property is bearing. And actually, I think she would very easily achieve 22, because 28, if it's already happened in 6 months, which means a 5 on 5 on your KRA bonus rankings already.
Fingers crossed.
All the best. Prashant, let me ask you this. Top lines are now going to become more, or the effort of brands has to be to make it more B2C. But when you go there, you have the intermediaries on one hand, Make My Trip, Expedia, Booking, so on and so forth. On the other hand is the BAT and the FANG, the Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google. And what we are hearing is that occupancies are already peaking. So it's easy for demand to come in. But demand is coming in through these channels, which would take some sheen off the net yields. Plus, you may not be able to hold on to loyalty there.
That's right.
So when you drive distribution and sales effort for effectively 3 brands in the country today and 50 cities, how are you looking at this ecosystem, and how are you preparing your brand to still maintain a profitable edge?
So like I said, in terms of the area, the segment churn, and you need to get your mix right. The moment you get your mix out of sync, you're headed for a bottom line disaster. It's very easy to fill a hotel, and occupancy is easy to fill, but it's the right price, and you need to know your levels at which, with what you're filling with what. That's very important. Secondly, when it comes to a brand.com versus the other online space which is available, I think so we are trying to offer other products on a brand website, only not hotels. We are the only domestic chain which has launched Flight Plus Hotel on our website, and we see it doing considerably well. So we are adding much more products to it. Secondly, Anirban had rightly said a point on loyalty. I think so if you give a consistent experience across your chain, if you have, you've got a customer whom you're taking care of, I'm pretty sure he's going to come back to your brand.com. I think so in India, everybody shops. That's the consumer behavior on an online space. It's not that they'll just go to a booking or a Make My Trip. They will shop everywhere. It's just that till the time you're getting the right experience, you're giving the right thing that he wants. I think so we do have an advantage of brand.com and everybody coexisting. When it comes to Facebook and Google, very frankly, these are the new marketplaces which you cannot avoid in today's data and age. I think so, we've rarely ever spent on offline marketing, very frankly. We were always spending on digital marketing from 2006-07 when this was only introduced. So we have seen this space grow. That's my take on it. I would say that rather, and as times turn, I think so everybody will coexist. Everybody's going to have their market share. The burns, the rate wars, I think so they're going to stop. Everybody will have their own positions. Is that India has seen a very bad 10 years of market. I think this is where the bloodbath started and all this thing started. Now with everything getting better towards north, I think so this all will settle down. And that's how I look at it.
Great. So I picked up a very interesting undertone from what you said, that while we focus on technology, and you said strategically, you are looking at doing some segment churn because you're already peaking occupancy. So which is good strategic thinking. But what I picked up was very interesting, that even when we focus on technology and these high supply times, what you said, Prashant, was that the basics of our business, the in-keeping of our business, is still what would engender loyalty to the brands and would get customers to come back, would get our heads on beds, and they should not be sleeping with somebody else, as Anirban was saying.